Today, as we spend this month of November hosting the traveling chalice through the diocese and spending some time in prayer, meditation, song, asking God to help those who are discerning vocation. That could be lay, that could be sister, priest. So for today, we have an opening prayer and a song to get us in the mood, and then we have a guest speaker today. Sister Valerie Gondon will be speaking on her vocation, and then we'll spend some time on prayer and meditation and adoration also for the last half an hour. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. God of all nations, we are most grateful for the first Catholic missionaries and explorers who came to Toledo. As strangers in a strange land, they brought with them countless skills, talents, and traditions, but the greatest treasure was their faith. May the good news of Jesus Christ, which molded and shaped their lives, continue to mold and shape our lives today. Bless our diocese with men and women who will follow in their footsteps to serve the Church as religious brothers, sisters, priests, and deacons. Lord Jesus Christ, help us to hear your call to come and see. Amen. The song that we will be singing is Make Me a Channel of Your Peace. There are books up here and also over there, and the number is number 738. Our reading will be taken from Matthew 22, verses 34 to 40. But when the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees, they came together. And one of them, a lawyer, asked him a question to test him. "Teacher, which is the great commandment in the law?" And he said to him, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the greatest and first commandment. And a second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments depend all the law and the prophets as well." The word of the Lord. So I would like to introduce to you Sister Valerie Grandin, who has really been a mentor for me over the years. I've known her for a long time, and I was very pleased that she was able to take some time out of her day to come and talk to us about her vocation. Sister? You don't need me? Yeah.
Thank you very much, Pat. We've worked together for years in education, so it's been good. We also stole one of our things. I was going to begin with that prayer for vocations that Father passed out last week, but we said it once, so I don't think we need to say it again. But I just want to start with, well, what is a vocation? I think there's a lot of curiosity about priests and sisters today. Who are we? What do we do all day? How did a person decide to become a sister or a priest? I hope I can answer some of these questions for you today. And obviously, if you have a question, stop me and ask the question before we go on. In the Bible, vocation is a calling from God, both to a specific role, to a way of life. It encompasses a universal call for every person to be holy by loving and serving God and others, as well as specific calls given to individuals, like the prophets or the disciples, to serve God in a particular way. A person's vocation is not intended to be a job, but it includes their entire life and the responsibility within their family, the church, and the community, which should be lived out in faith. The Sisters of St. Francis, the community to which I belong, take vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. Franciscan poverty is a commitment to living without personal possessions, money, or property. That goes beyond simple living or charity to embrace a poverty of being that recognizes human powerlessness without God and frees Franciscans to be in solidarity with the poor and the vulnerable. The lifestyle involves simplicity, humility, and voluntary renunciation of worldly things to find spiritual freedom. So what does solidarity with the poor really mean? This is a practice that involves not just serving the poor, but being poor with them, entering into relationship of solidarity and shared vulnerability. How is it lived? We live simply, using only the most necessary things for daily life, and often engaging in manual labor or simple crafts. Detachment from worldly standards. It involves being detached from the world's standards for living and focus on purpose and community good instead of real interest. Generosity, resources that are shared with the poor, demonstrating that nothing is truly one's own. And embracing a poverty of being, the internal state of recognizing one's own powerlessness and need for God is seen as more important than material poverty alone. So practically speaking, what does all that mean? Well, I've never had a paycheck made out to Valerie Grandin, never in my whole life. We have a paycheck that's made out to Sisters of St. Francis. I don't think I've ever seen it. It all goes into a community bank, and it really doesn't matter what you do in community. It doesn't matter if I'm a social worker, a teacher, a principal, a university professor. Whatever's on that paycheck goes into our common bond. Each year, the sisters who live together, and I live with Sister Rosemary, we sit down and say, what are our needs for this year? You know, I live in a house, so I have to pay the gas bill, the water bill, the utility bill. We each have a car, which we need to get around in. But my little Toyota, we sometimes call them nun-mobiles because they're the, they get us around, and that's all that counts. And the car is not in my name. It's a Sister of St. Francis car. We do get a personal budget each month. And with that personal budget, we're asked to buy, for instance, our own clothes, if you're going out to eat or something like that. So our personal budgets, and each person gets to pick what they want, but it's usually between $100 or $130 a month. So that, when you think about buying a pair of shoes or a winter coat or whatever, you have to save up a little bit. And believe it or not, you can do that. The vow of chastity, it's a promise to give one's life to God and refrain from sexual relationships. Chastity is the virtue of living out your sexual life in the proper way, which if you're married, it means that you're with one person, with your spouse. If you're unmarried, to refrain from sexual intimacy with anyone else. Therefore, chastity as a virtue should be lived out by everybody according to their state of life. The person who chooses celibacy promises to remain unmarried for the rest of their life. A vow is a promise a person makes to God. The Catechism of the Catholic Church states that a vow is an act of devotion in which the Christian dedicates himself or herself to God or promises them some good works. So a man or a woman who enters religious life out of devotion to God promises to live a life of chastity, obedience, and poverty. It is something where he or she says, I'm doing this out of love for God and for the salvation of my soul. A promise is made for the sake of the kingdom and the church. In the sacraments of baptism, confirmation, holy orders, and marriage, promises are made. In baptism, you promise to live as a disciple of Christ, rejecting Satan and all of his works, and to serve God faithfully in his holy church. And we're reminded of that frequently in our parish as we have baptisms during Mass, and we all stand and renew our baptismal promises. In the promise of celibacy, you promise to remain unmarried for the sake of the kingdom of heaven and at the service of God's people. Now, from a very practical point, if I am celibate, I don't have to go home cook supper for a spouse or my family. I don't have to worry about getting one or two of my children off to ballet lessons or soccer practice or the band. I have time. I have time. And so all of that means that I should use that time to do the things of serving our community and serving the poor. A vow of obedience is a religious commitment, often made by members of religious orders, to follow God's will and the directives of the superiors to achieve holiness and to serve others. This too has changed over the years. Now I'm not assigned to a specific place or even a specific ministry. But in communication with a member of our leadership team, I can request a specific place or ministry, and now I requested retirement, which is really different for me. Obedience comes with several pragmatic, apostolic, relevant benefits as well. I don't need to obsess over my next career move or painstakingly plan out 10 years from now. Through obedience, all of the time and energy and emotional energy that I would have otherwise spent attempting to manipulate the outcomes of my future life are freed up for mission and my relationship with God and others. I know that when I can no longer limp around, I'll be at Our Lady of Grace Assisted Living, and if I fall and break a leg or whatever, I always have a bed at Rosary Care Center. So those are places where we can look to the future. So like many of you, I don't have to worry about what am I going to do, where am I going to be, and I think that that's very freeing. And it's a grace and a gift, so I'm happy about that. Most religious communities define themselves as apostolic or monastic. Franciscans would say we're neither. We describe our faith and our life as evangelical. Following the example of Francis, the focus of our lives is to live for the gospel in relation to others. Franciscans will say that the world is our cloister and that we find God in the faces of our brothers and sisters. Prayer is the foundation of our lives so that we can be out in the midst of the messiness of daily life, reaching out to others in a spirit of joyful servanthood. Our mission is this, called, like Francis of Assisi, to live the gospel in joyful servanthood among all people. We, the Sisters of St. Francis of Savigny, as messengers of peace, commit ourselves to works that reverence human dignity, embrace the poor and marginalized, and respect the gifts of all creation. Our way of life is founded on 4 fundamental values: conversion, poverty, contemplation, and minority. Now, our mission statement is what we do, and our charism statement is how are we going to be remembered? You know, because we all live and we all live to die. So in another 50 years, people are going to say, well, who were these Franciscan sisters, and what do you know about them? So we have defined a charism statement as saying, we are joyful Franciscan women, embracing poverty and beauty, embracing relationships, and living the gospel. I think that the art around our campus talks about our reverence and respect for beauty. Embracing relationships, we're involved in many things, many parishes in and around here. We even have people in Tennessee and Minnesota and other places. So what are our ministries, and what do we do? The idea of reverence, we recognize that all God's children are created, their creation is unique, and each of us is a blessing for God. Service, serve other people in any different way we can. Community. Francis and Claire realized the importance of relationships, and that's very important today even. And stewardship. We're called to use our available resources, our time, our talent, our finances, our environment, our reputation, and more to give back to the community. Now, some of our resources are used. We have Bethany House, and I'm on the board of Bethany House, and last night we had our board meeting by Zoom. We have a meeting every other month by Zoom and every other month in person. But Bethany House is a long-term shelter for victims of domestic violence that we opened 40 years ago. And our very first Bethany House was actually the convent at Immaculate Conception Parish. So Sister Rose Treese, the founder of Bethany House, lived there, and I think 2 or 3 women joined her. Last night we learned that the newest resident of Bethany House needs we have purchased an apartment complex for the residents of Bethany House, so that each family has their own apartment. Downstairs in this apartment complex, we have what we call a Step Up program. And these are apartments where people who are about ready to go out and be on their own can pay a little bit of rent, and they have a job, their children are in school, they've had some time through counseling to get their lives together. So we're moving one family from the Step Up program upstairs to allow for this new resident to move to a downstairs apartment because her abuser broke both of her legs. And she is coming to us in that situation. And that just touches my heart, just so awful. We have a whole year's waiting list of families wanting and needing to get into Bethany House. It's the only organization in Northwest Ohio that offers long-term apartment-style shelter for people, combined with emotional, spiritual, and financial support. Any questions about Bethany? We all know about Lourdes University, and like all small universities, we're struggling, but we're struggling okay. This year, our freshman class had 25% more students than last year, so we're very proud and pleased about that. Our Lady of Grace is an assisted living facility. It was opened in 2012. It's connected to our Rosary Care Center. It is for our sisters, where the sisters have their own room, their own bathrooms, and they have meals in common, and they have help with some of their daily needs. We found that sisters who couldn't live alone any longer but needed some additional help, so we provided that for them. Rosary Care Center is a skilled nursing and rehabilitation facility, 76 beds. It's a licensed nursing home in the state of Ohio with Medicare and Medicaid certification, as well as accreditation by the Joint Commission. It now offers skilled nursing care and rehabilitation services to vowed religious men and women and to those in the greater community. We sometimes smile. Do the Notre Dame sisters have more sisters than Rosary, or do the sisters of St. Francis? You kind of go back and forth with that. But we have many sisters there. We've even had some visitation sisters there. We have diocesan men there, and we have some of the oblates there. What's really nice is the oblates help us out, and they have Mass there 5 days a week. So the sisters have their own Mass there. Those who can't get down to Mass have TVs in their room, so it's live streamed for them. We have people on the pastoral care team who distribute communion throughout Rosary Care Center. And then we also have Sophia Counseling Center. It's a counseling and testing center for children. It's been open for 30 years. They currently have 17 counselors who deal with the needs of those who come for that service. And they've received many, many grants on how to help families where children are abusive to their parents. It's unbelievable that you can have a 2 or a 3-year-old who's out of control and parents don't know how to deal with that child. And then finally we have Convent Park Apartments for senior citizens. This was built in 1988, 98 apartments, 1 or 2 bedroom apartments, right on the side of our property. Well, it's a part of our property, I should say, right on the side of the railroad tracks. And we built a bridge across the tracks so people can get to St. Joe's too. It's real close to St. Joe's in Sylvania. We have 20 of our sisters living there, but we have a lot of laymen and women living there. And they actually formed community. They have movies once a month. They play bingo. They go to tequilas around the corner during happy hour. Now they tell us they don't drink. They just have the part-time or the half-cost appetizers. But I've never been there to check that out. But it's kind of fun that they gather together and celebrate. So that's a little bit about religious life today. I don't know all of the ins and outs of what other religious communities do, but it's similar. Everybody has their mission, reaching out to those in need. And it's very important that we're present in a lot of those areas today. We used to teach. We were very involved in teaching. I actually taught principal and worked at the university for 55 years, but it's now time for me not to teach and not to do lesson plans and especially not to correct papers. So I'm very happy. I still mentor the people in the education department, serve on a few of their boards and work with the faculty there. But I don't actually teach anymore. That's just happened a year ago. And after I stopped the teaching, I was elected to the leadership team. I was the community secretary for 4 years. And this June, that term was up, so now I'm retired again and very happy to do that. So do you have any questions for me about me personally or about my religious life? I should say I'm from Holy Angels Parish in Sandusky. I had a wonderful, wonderful experience at my parish in Sandusky with Father Armitage, was there for many years. Loved the parish and loved the work, and went through elementary school there, St. Mary's High School in Sandusky. And then when I was looking for a college, I couldn't find one that I really felt like I fit, until I looked at Lourdes University and felt that I fit in there. So that's when I went to school there to begin with, and then actually entered the community at that time. Yes? When I was a junior and senior in high school, I was very quiet and very disturbed about what am I going to do next. You know, I grew up in the age where once you got out of high school, you could do one of two things. You could teach, you could be a nurse, you could work for the telephone company, and that's about it. We didn't have all the options that are open to women of today. And so I knew I wanted to teach. I mean, I've always felt the need to teach, and I enjoy teaching a lot. But as a junior or senior in high school, I thought, what am I going to do? And so it was natural then to look. And at St. Mary's, we had 3 different orders of sisters. And the Franciscan sisters were pretty special there. They were a little bit different for me. And that's how I chose that community. My father also spent some years in the Franciscan seminary. When the war came, he left and went on to be in the Air Force, and then he met my mother, and we all came to be. But so we did live in kind of a Franciscan home growing up. We were always helping other people and reaching out to other people and being a part of parish life. Mom and Dad, even after all of us were gone, every Thanksgiving they were there serving turkeys, and my mother baked pies for all the people in the neighborhood to come and eat at the parish. Even as retired, they kept that up. So I think I have a Franciscanism in my blood, a little bit more than many. Anybody else? Yes, Micah. Oh, I probably have more than all of you together in the room. I have 6 younger brothers and 5 younger sisters. And on October 4th, I think our 75th niece or nephew, or great niece or nephew, was born, and another week later I found out that another couple's pregnant, and another couple's getting married in December, so it's going to continue. We have, I just have a lot of nieces and nephews. This summer, I celebrated 60 years as a sister of St. Francis, and so I had a big party in Slovenia for all of my family, who actually I didn't even invite them to our formal celebration because they would have taken over the whole place, and these number of children would have not been happy at a formal dinner or whatever. So we had 70 people come. My one sister, who lives out in the state of Washington, couldn't come, but all my other brothers and sisters came. Many brought their grandchildren because they don't know each other's grandchildren and great-grandchildren. It's really hard when there's that many. And we're from, I have brothers in Columbus, one brother in Sandusky, one brother in Toledo, Grand Rapids, Michigan, 3 sisters in Florida, one sister's a traveling radiation therapist, so she's all over. One brother in the DC area. So even to get to see each other, we don't get that much of an opportunity. So they were all happy to come and just visit with each other, and we had things like face painting and cornhole and food, and at 10:30 at night, I said, it's really time. We still had 3 tables of cards going. So I said, it's time to put the euchre cards away, and there's tomorrow too. So we did have a good time. But I've always had many, many siblings around. I'm very comfortable in a big group of people. Well, thank you very much for listening, and I hope I helped a little bit on the lifestyle of sisters, particularly Sisters of St. Francis. I could mention one other thing. We have golf carts. So in the springtime, it's fun to take friends around on these golf carts. We have a 6-passenger golf cart and a golf cart where we can get a wheelchair up on the golf cart. So people from Rosary Care Center who need some fresh air can go out and Pat, so we can take people around all the shrines and everything there. So I know, Monsignor, you're getting people to go to Rome, but I can invite people to go to golf carts and see our campus.
We did go out there. I think there were 6 or 8 of us from here that went. Sister drove the golf cart, and it was a lot of fun. Her driving is excellent. I just had to hold on really tight. Thank you, Sister, for sharing your story. So the next part of what we will do is have some adoration time. Here we'll take care of that until about 5-ish, and then we'll close with a prayer. Thank you.
Entrando el alambre ahí. Sí, es que lo puse recto el alambre, por eso le puse